Hi everyone and welcome back to Chess for Charity. In this video, I'm going to show you an incredible puzzle. Take a second and look at this position. Black is threatening the rook on c2 with the queen and the rook, and it's pinned. Plus this pawn is threatening to take and promote, if you weren't already threatening mate, right? So your job is to figure out how do you save this game for white. This is just crazy. This puzzle is absolutely insane. I really hope you give it some time. See if you can figure it out. While you're thinking about this, let me just quickly encourage you to subscribe if you have not yet already. Half of the income that I earn in this channel goes directly to charity, so it really helps out a lot. Greatly appreciated. Okay, so let's start right away. What are our thoughts here? We have a lot of pressure here, and there's no way to alleviate this pressure, so we have to look for checks. And maybe, if you're like me, the first move that came to your mind was this crazy queen sacrifice. So queen d5, it looks all fun and games, but it does not work. Here's why. C takes d5. Let me quickly show, if the king takes, crazy enough, this is actually mate because you're allowing me to promote to a queen, and then after a series of other moves, I can show the whole sequence if you want, but pretty much is going to lead to mate in the same fashion as a normal puzzle. Nothing crazy about this. King c7. Look at this. Look at this. Bishop takes d8 check. You don't have to take it, but you can run away. It doesn't matter. It's going to be mate is my point. So the refutation to this move, the move that counteracts why I should not do this, is after queen takes, the pawn can take. And even though you have this check, looks great. Wait a second, that square is not covered. So that's just hanging rook. So if you saw that mate after the king takes, that's amazing. But unfortunately, the opponent doesn't have to follow what you calculate. They can do something different. Okay, so what is the first move? Maybe you thought of other forcing moves. Maybe something like bishop here. Or bishop here. Or what else? Any other forcing moves? No, not really. So let's look at it. If you play bishop here, sounds like a good idea because you're forcing the king to go somewhere, but they just take it. There's no issue here. Can you promote to a knight and give another check? Sure, but after they go to d6, you're not really getting anywhere. There's no good check here. You can give this up, but then we're in the same situation as we were a moment ago, and it's not really working out. Okay, so what is the move? Well, it's the check that I just showed, but on the other flank, on the other side. Flank is not the right word there. On the other way this bishop can go, the other diagonal. Bishop e5. Great, and maybe you saw in this line, after king e6, white will actually win in just a couple of moves. g8 equals queen, and depending on where you go, it doesn't really matter, you're still going to lose. You go here, how does that happen? What do you do? Well, you have all sorts of checks. Queen g5 is just good enough here. You're pushing the king to e6, and a nice checkmate, knight f8, covering this key square, while the bishops are doing a lot of damage on these diagonal. Look at this. Look at that. So if of course the king can go other directions, it doesn't matter. It's still going to be mate. So if the king plays to e6, it's going to be mate in 3. What about if they play to e7? Now, it might look like all is lost here because you have all of this pressure mounting, and it feels like you're going to run out of checks in just a moment. You can promote to a knight, right? What else can you do to give a check? You can give up your bishop, but this way, that way, but it's not really working out. So let's look at two options. So the most natural, and this is kind of what I would think you would look at as the person trying to solve the puzzle, is this promotion. Now look at this position. You have two knights and two bishops, and this pawn, of course, holding the bishop. How are you actually going to mate the king here? Well, you're not. Surprisingly, you need more help. So this check allows only one move for the king, which is king e6. And in this position, incredibly, you can kind of get a little bit of a draw here if you wanted to. What do I mean by that? Well, you can kind of keep giving checks with knights. So check. And now where does the king go? Only one move. Can't go to any of these squares. Therefore, you have to go to f5. Okay, and I can kind of go ring around the rosy here. What do I mean by that? Knight e7 check. Forcing the king again. Where can they go? They can't go anywhere here. Oops. They have only one square. And I can continue to give these checks in this cyclical manner, right, in a circle. Check. Okay, they go to h6 then, right? Same idea. How is this going to end? Am I going to draw the game? Am I just going to give checks in circles? Would that be possible? Sure, why not? Just check, check, and just keep checking. But here's the question. Do I want a draw or do I want a win? Well, given the options, you want to win if you have one. In this position, you don't want to just keep giving check. That's not the idea. There is a stunning move in this position. See if you can find it, given that little hint. So the move here is going after this pawn, because that would be with check, very importantly. Queen takes pawn is the move. And you might ask yourself, what is that even doing? Well, the answer to what it's doing is it's allowing this pawn to move, which frees up this nice 6th rank. Now, why is that important? Well, you might wonder that, and that's a good question, because currently this queen is watching the square. Well, keep watching, I'll show you. Okay, so what do we do now? We continue the checks. Knight h6. King f8, only move. Knight h7. Okay, we're just pushing the king around, right? They're only being moved to forcing squares. King e7. Knight g8. Again, we're forcing the king around. King e6. Now I could just do this maneuver again and just go in a circle. Do I want to do that? No. Now, here's a beautiful move. You probably already know where it's going because I've already kind of foreshadowed it. This tension here, you can make this move. And you might say, okay, so I sacked the queen just to sack the rook. What's the point of that? Well, what is this queen doing at this moment? This queen is pinning my rook. Okay, so if I do this, what I'm really doing is I'm freeing up the movement of this rook, right? I hope you see that point that I'm making. This rook can now move before it could not move because it was pinned. Okay, so now that this queen is away, there's no skewer or anything, nothing crazy like that. Instead, knight f8. Okay, king has to continue to walk this tightrope around and around and around. Here, here, here. I think it's doing this, right? If I'm doing that right, something like that. Knight e7. Okay, king g5. What's the point? Am I going to keep giving checks? Well, now there's a problem because now if I give check on this square, that can just get taken straight away, and that's very scary. So you might just pause in this position if you would like. What is the winning move here? Take a second. I'm sure you see a couple of checks. There's this knight check. There's this rook check. There are a couple other knight checks. What's the winning move? Okay, well, if my colors didn't help you, because you might see that the two that are bad are red and the one that's good is green, let's just quickly show. This move was my first thought, if I'm being honest with you. This move, my first thought. I thought deflect the rook away, they take, I do this, I win, right? No, they can block because I can't calculate very deeply. I messed that up. Of course, when you think about it, it makes sense. And the same idea goes here. If you check here, it looks like a good move, but after king h6, I'm attacking this, and there's no good way to give me a check on the next move and also defend this knight. It's just not really working out. Best move in this position is knight g8 check. According to the engine, I take, and now my forces are kind of disjointed, and I'm falling apart as white. So, the last move here, the last big cool move, after the king moves to g5, is to give up your rook on g2. Bang, look at that move. Okay, there are a couple options here. They can take it or they could not. If they don't take it, let's say they throw the bishop in the way, that's not really a problem. I just take that. And then where did they go? They have to go to h6, and then there are tons of mates here. If you want to pause for another challenge, how many mate in ones can you find in this position? Try it out. I'll tell you in just a moment if you would like to know. There are 3. There's bishop takes f4 mate, that's 1. There's knight f5 mate, that's 2. And there's knight g8 mate, that's 3. Personally, I think this one's cool because of the symmetry. But that's just me. Everybody has their own opinion. So that's if they block. If they move, it's very similar. So king h6, it's even faster mate. Knight g8 again is mate. Knight f5 is mate. All that stuff is the same. Okay, the line that we really care about is what happens when they take. Well, that rook was defending the very critical h3 square. So now it frees up h3 for me to check. The king goes to h6, and look at the final move of this position. Knight f5 checkmate. Look at the symmetry of this. Look at the way these are just tied together so beautifully. This is why I think chess is a combination of science and art and all that beautiful stuff. That's why I make chess videos, because I love the game. So that's pretty much it. Now let's just take a moment. Just make sure you understand the amazing nature of this puzzle. This rook was pinned. Okay, this queen and rook were both here. We had to give up everything. Gave up the queen first. Let me go to that position. Let me kind of fast forward here. I'll use my keyboard. Queen takes d5. Get rid of the queen. Then chase the king around. Get rid of the rook. By doing that, we unpin our rook on c2. Why is that important? Well, we make some more moves. We put our rook on g2, which frees up this key h3 square. Isn't that absolutely amazing? That, to me, is just super cool as a theme. I love it. And this puzzle was suggested by someone on my Discord. So I'd really appreciate if anybody wants to go on my Discord and give some suggestions. You might see your puzzle featured here. But yeah, that is it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, leave me some feedback. Let me know. If you've even seen something like this, it's incredible. So big shout out to the user who created it. But yeah, that is it for now. Thank you so much. Bye.